stuff. I'm living this stuff.
I'm your Carol Master and Bad Vibe Blaster.
And you can thank me for covering your astro.
Leading out loud. Leading out loud. Leading out loud.
Hello and welcome to LOL Leading Out Loud. This is our special pre-taped interview edition. We're all off the air and enjoying this day, but we're happy to be live for you. We're excited to be here today. We're going to be chatting about animals, and we have a special guest today, Bernadette Carter-King, who is the creator of the Arc Animal Tarot deck, is going to be here. But first, everyone, the Motley crew. Hi, everyone. How you doing?
Hey guys.
Hello.
Oh my God. Happy to be here.
Animal Totems is our topic today, and it kind of begs the question before we bring her on camera. What is your experience with Animal Totems? Do you have an animal that reaches out to you?
Many.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
What's that? Mine's seasonal. For me, it's wasps. I get like an influx of.
That makes
I
a lot
said
of sense.
wasps,
That
not
does.
wop.
That's your home
Not
planet,
wop.
Scott.
I didn't say wop. Okay, but yeah, I get wasps, and it's usually seasonal too. Like I get an influx of them, and it's always when I'm making a big change. And the praying mantis, I get praying mantises like they latch on my door, and they're always looking inside. So, and then hummingbirds too. Actually, always like they look into my window, all the time. So it's always like they're trying to communicate. So those are my three, and I think
That's
I have
cool.
if you can even see, I have a tattoo of a
He's
praying
tattooed
mantis
all his totems.
somewhere. Yeah. And so there was a point too that I had, those black beetles. You ever seen those black beetles with the green that fly? Have you guys seen that before?
Yeah.
I had one time they were attacking me everywhere I'd go, and people thought I was crazy until I would go out and they'd attack me and like spin around me. So I'm like, what does that mean? So then I got a tattoo of a beetle because of that. So
Wow.
So yeah, maybe she can let us know about like all the symbols, what they mean.
oh yeah,
So,
I have lots of questions about that.
Yeah.
I
Chris,
myself-
besides your lizards.
Yeah, for me, it's owls. Like owls will start hooting in the daytime.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all the time. And now I'm at a point where if I get an owl hoot, I'll be like, "What was I just thinking about?" Because I kind of feel like there's a connection that animals can see our auras or something. I don't know. We'll talk to Bernadette about that. But I swear to God, and in places you wouldn't think owls lived. I'm like,
I know.
around here. So that's it. And then I had vultures over my house in Texas, but I think that was a symbol. I left. What about you, Reck? Is there anything other than lizards?
Always birds for me. Hawks and vultures as well. Even I just moved to Tennessee and there's a billion vultures. It's crazy. They just sit on the ground here, which I've never seen before because normally you see them, they're like in a tree or something. So it's always birds, but mostly hawks all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not fish, huh?
Not fish. Yeah, exactly. All my tattoos are fish, so you'd think it would be fish, but it's not.
That's interesting. I don't have a tattoo. Devon, what tattoo do you have?
I don't have any tattoos, but
can't tell.
I have similar symbols. Hawks are huge for me, huge messengers all the time, and green lizards. In fact, on my walks in the morning, the two of them will always show up when there's something important I'm downloading or something important I need to handle. And then I also get a lot of cardinals and butterflies as well. And then recently, I can't wait to ask Bernadette about this. We had a family of foxes move in and have 3 babies, and we have 3 kids. So I'm just curious about all those kinds of things. So
I heard Anthony, his alias was Green Lizard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, is that true?
We had my brother had foxes move into his house too. That's interesting. I mean, under the porch next door. So
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
know they bring in a lot of psychic abilities. They're shift shapers. Wait, no. that's
Shape
not how you
shift.
say it. Shapeshifters.
Yeah.
But actually, when Chris, Reck, and I started working together, the green lizards were coming out so much that I was like almost about to step on them on my walk every day. They were like running in front of me, and I was like, "Okay, we got to go further with this. This is cool."
Whenever I see a
the
lizard, I'm like,
king.
"Hi, Chris."
Yeah.
sorry.
Chris Reck's the lizard king. I love it.
Yeah,
Oh, you are the lizard king.
Yeah.
that's right.
He's got
I just
some
look at every
awesome-
lizard as a cousin of yours. I'm very
Yeah,
respectful.
that's what it is.
It's totally
Yeah,
true.
And Christopher, you'll see owls out here too. Like when you come visit Palm Springs, you'll definitely just owls out here like crazy too. You wouldn't
I
think in the middle of
owls.
the desert, there's a lot. And the vultures.
So
They
cool.
I
sit
feel like they're
around.
watching my back, and the vultures are waiting for me to die.
Right.
So it's interesting.
No, it
Yep.
means fertility, doesn't it? I thought vultures. Well, we'll ask Bernadette. But
Precision.
It's
Precision.
purification as well.
yeah, and
Yeah.
transformation.
Conservation of energy.
Yeah.
It is. It's God's garbage can. It's like they
Yeah.
will get rid of all the, all the waste. In Texas, they're flying around all the cattle,
Yeah.
around
Mhm.
waiting for cattle to die all
Right.
day long.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it begs the question. Let's bring on our guest. She's phenomenal. I've actually interviewed her on Astro Mingle and become friends with her. I use her Animal Arc Tarot deck. I think she's the best in the industry. Bernadette Carter-King is her name. She's more finely referred to as Mama Bear, and boy, she is. She's a multi-award winning best-selling author. Her beloved Arc Animal Tarot and Oracle deck continues to fly off the shelves. I think even Chris Reck has one. Wisdom of the Wild Ones, the Encyclopedia of Animal Spirit Guides, is her groundbreaking book. And for over 3 decades, Mama Bear has been a voice for animals, including for humans. She supports them through donations provided by her work as an evidential psychic medium, animal communicator, author, mentor, teacher, tarot reader, and philanthropist. Please welcome our guest today, Step 5 Scorpio, Mama Bear, Bernadette Carter-King.
Yay!
Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. It is so excited. And it's such an honor. So thank you.
We are
Your name
honored as
comes
well.
up more than you would think. We had a show a couple weeks ago on spirit guides, and we were going to go into the idea of animal guides. We said, wait, let's have on the best there is out there to talk about. And I have to say, y'all, I had a reading with her, and I'm curious how it works, because she would say, this animal is here right now, and she would say it means this, and I'm seeing this animal. So are you literally in readings getting like pictures of animals? Are they poking you? How's that work?
It really does show up as a vision, and I'm sure that all of you other readers understand what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It can be like a movie in your mind, but for me, it really just does appear in front of me. So you have a den of foxes that have moved in, and I looked on my desk, and all of a sudden there's baby fox sitting there looking at me.
Oh.
And one day, just very quickly, because it was so gross, but I was teaching a class, and I was like, and I jumped and I went, all right, people, who's working with white buffalo right now? Which, by the way, I wore my white buffalo to spread the magic of white buffalo energy.
Nice.
And for everyone, because who can't use some white buffalo energy in their life? And like more than half the class raised their hand, and I was like, well, thank you very much, because right now breathing down my neck is a giant buffalo, and they are not very clean animals, and I've got gross buffalo snot.
Slobber.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it works for me with really with everything. It just shows up in a vision.
It's like a cosmic Snow White. All these ghosted animals are showing up on your shoulder, and
Right.
landing
Something
on
like that.
perched on you. How did you get started in this direction? I mean, were you born with the gift? You think you spent a lifetime in the woods?
Well, my opinion is that everyone is a psychic medium. To every living thing is a psychic medium, even trees that pass messages through their root systems. It's just a matter of how much you are when you come in. Your zodiac sign has something to do with it for sure, I believe. Nature versus nurture. Were you shut down as a kid when you showed these proclivities, abilities, or was this nurtured? And then how much do you work that muscle in your daily life? And then how much trust do you have?
Right.
So for me, I'm pretty easy. And I decided to want to believe what came to me and to trust the other side, that they would not lead me astray. And poof,
Right.
it just blossomed overnight when you settle into that trust.
Right.
And I'm sure the rest of you that teach and, you give readings, you're already there. And, you say the kookiest things to clients, and they're like, what?
Oh my God, it's so weird you say that. It's so weird you say that.
Yeah.
How did you know? Yeah, that's the best one.
My favorite comeback to that is, why is it you're paying me if you
What does my title say?
isn't that what you're paying me for? So
Right.
yeah. But yeah, that's really the crux of it.
I had someone once kind of trick me. They wanted me to channel love that's past, and they didn't tell me it was a dog. But I noticed as I was channeling that dog's spirit, I'm like, there seems to be a speech impediment here, and it seems like And they were just like, it was all correct. And then she told me at the end of the session, and it was actually live. She goes, "That was my dog." And I realized that the communication was so different. And so I wonder too, when you communicate with so much different animals and species of animals, do they all communicate this the same way, or there's like a difference between the species? Like how do you go about with the communication with different species and so forth?
For me, there is a difference in communication with the species because I set the intention that when they come through, to please show me, are they a water animal, a land animal, an air animal? I ask them to separate it into the elements so that we can do a drill down.
Love it.
And if a dog or a cat shows up, because that's most in birds, that's mostly what people want to hear from. I ask them for other identifying qualifiers. If you were an Irish setter, show me that cinnamon colored fur. Show me the longer fur. If you were a Chihuahua, show me something that's going to lead me to that. If there was an unusual name, show me something that's going to lead to that, because everything I do is evidence-based. And I feel like, and the animals show up and they play along. Now, I will tell you very quickly that they will often come in a healing capacity that you might not expect. I was reading a lady one time and I was like, "You've got a thing for white swans." And she was like, "No, I don't." And I'm like, "Yeah, you do." And she was like, "No, really, I don't." And I'm like, "Yeah, really, you do." So this swan just got bigger and bigger and bigger and more aggressive. And if you've ever been around swans, they're mean and they're big.
Very.
And I was like, "Listen, this swan on the other side's about to eat my head off. Let's come to get to the story." Her family, since she was a kid, had called her Ugly Duckling.
Oh, wow.
So, I know, who does that?
Wow.
And so she was going through a time of transformation where for the first time, she's 42 years old. For the first time in 42 years, she was shedding that ugly duckling and imagining herself becoming confident and beautiful. And I said, "Oh, you mean like the beautiful white swan that the ugly duckling transformed into?"
That's right.
And, wham, her jaw hits the ground. So it can come like that. And just for me, I have experienced that time and again where the emblem, the metaphor may not be the animal they want to hear from. Because everybody's like, "What's my spirit animal?" And I'm like, how much time do you have? So,
Right.
Yeah.
True.
So
Makes sense.
if
So
that's
like you get like direct communications, and they also get kind of like the symbolic expressions of where they're at too. So it's kind of like a duality there when you're communicating, right?
Yep. It just depends on which person it is and what they need. And what I ask when I go into a reading is that love, just love, because in my mind, love is perfect. And so it will know what that person needs, and it will know where to go to heal and what to tell me to do. And for some people, they don't have an animal at all. I always ask people at the beginning, and some people are like, "No, I don't care about the spirit animal. I just want to know if he's cheating on me."
What animal would that be, by the way?
Yeah.
The snake?
Okay.
Yes and yes.
Yeah, exactly. So,
He's
so
the animal. Your boyfriend's the animal, you tell him, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. And what kind of other animals are we sending his way? So
interesting.
cheater, bow beater. So that's how it happens for me. And it's different, you guys know each reading is so different.
Yeah.
The adjustment can be, oh my goodness.
Right.
But I have not found a medium. Like, I'm not a pendulum swinger.
Right.
I'm not a runes person.
Right.
I'm not a runes person and that kind of thing. So I can't speak to those methods of divination. But when it comes to tarot and psychic mediumship and angels, oh, sweet mother of all, we could have a conversation about the correlation between angels and animals. We could do that all day long, because sometimes it's really difficult to know what angel or if the angels have sent this particular animal because of the way that the session transpires.
Right.
And what, the angel might have sent an animal because it's easier for that person to believe
True.
rather than
Yes.
an angel showing up and then
Right.
being like,
whatever. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
Very
that is
true.
such a good point. My grandmother, who was the one that taught me to really trust my work with animals as a kid, was also the one who initiated me to work with angels. And she would always say, Devon, what is dog spelled backwards?
Right.
And that was my thing.
yeah.
Yep.
So I found that even with atheists that are like, I do not believe in any of this. When it's over, it's over. Their
Right.
dog is their favorite
Yeah.
person in their whole life. And I'm
Right.
like,
Hmm.
do you find that with people who are non-believers too?
Yes, and I have to tell you, the most hardened people, that believe, just like you're talking about, they're atheists or they don't believe in the boogity boogity or any of that. They're the ones that call you in secret, going, could we do this on a Wednesday when my wife is at work or my husband? And when I used to have a store, people would come in huffing and puffing and sweating. I'd be like, "Are you okay?"
Right.
I parked 6 blocks away so no one was in here.
Right.
So, but they're the ones that fall to their knees, and you've got to get a paramedic to get them up when their animal dies, and they go into this horrible grief.
Yeah.
And some of them
Spiraling.
and some of them into PTSD, and they can't, So, people are. Yes, the answer to your question is yes. I find exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I find that fascinating too. And I think that when we have some big things coming up in our life where we need to make a change or else things are really going to deteriorate, I have seen people lose their animals. Their animals will decide, you know what, I'm out. I love you, but I need you to change this. And so a lot of times in my sessions, that's what will come through is like, I was here with you for this season in your life.
Right.
And then it was time for you to go through this transformation. And I was part of that, like a soul contract.
Yep.
So what do you feel about with soul contracts with people and their animals?
I was just about to comment on that. I believe in them wholeheartedly because I do not believe in the chaos theory at all. And I believe that we make our choices. We were built and chose to make choices so that we can keep doing this.
Right.
And I believe that animals are the same thing. This is not a plug for veganism or any other commentary on people who eat meat. This is a straight up, I do not believe that animals decided to come here just as a food source. I just don't believe that.
Right.
You're not eating moose.
Right.
You're not,
Exactly.
You're not eating bear
Or dog.
and
Right.
I'm pretty sure you're not eating snakes.
Right.
So, food source, schmooge source. And if people will just believe and practice and slow down, I can be anywhere in my home and I can think any one of my animals to me. I will locate them psychically in the house.
Oh, wow.
I will call their name. I will psychically pet them, and then I will call them to me. And a minute or two later, they'll show up at the door. Yes, mommy. And it is, everyone can do that and get closer to their own pets or animal companions or fur babies or whatever they like to call them. And I just really wish they would, because so many times animals are trying to tell us something, and we just are not hearing it, and they don't know any other. Yeah, they don't know any other way to tell us. So it's our job when we're their caretakers to adjust to them as much as we just randomly pick them up and expect them to adjust to us.
Right.
And that's something I wish people would realize is it's so adorable when you go get that puppy from a litter. It is so great when you go get that foal from its mom. Do you realize that you've ripped an animal away from its species, from its family, and it has no choice?
Right.
It's going to do what it needs to do to survive, which is you're the food bringer that makes you the alpha, and they're going to do everything they can to please you.
Mhm.
So,
interesting.
yeah, people don't.
Because you feed me.
Yeah, well,
That's why I love you, because you feed me.
well, over time, hopefully it grows into more than that. But initially, that is what's happening. Is you're a family wrecker.
Unless your dog's a Leo like mine, my dog just takes over my house. So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
the king of my house, not me.
And most of them do. But all I'm saying is when
Yeah.
you start realizing from a sensitivity kind of thing, that's what's happening at the very beginning. Now, if you adopt a stray off the street, I've got to believe that stray is like, oh, thank God.
Right.
And hopefully that's true. But, there's a lot of other dynamics that can go into something like that. But initially for people who are choosing puppies from litters or, however they're doing it, that's what's happening. So the sensitivity is, I think, really important for the animal kingdom.
Mhm.
The ones that are in our care, and they all are. But I mean, if we have them in our home, in our care, there you have it. So
because they have their own auras too, right? So, just like when we feel somebody energetically step into our aura and we're like, oh, I don't like that. Like, give me some space. They're the
Yep.
same way. And it's kind of rude to just run up to a dog and start petting it
Right.
without at least trying to feel into their
Mm-mm.
energy. And I know my cats do the same. My cats will show up for me from the other side of the house when I'm sitting in a state of worry. And they're like, Mom, you need a ground. That's another thing that they'll do. But they can feel my energy, like you said, on the other side of the house, like something's going on. We need to go check.
Right.
Yep.
And so when you think of it from that perspective and how big animals' auras can be as healers,
Mm.
that it definitely is something we have to remember, right? Like to be polite in our approach.
Yep, exactly. And it's amazing what animals can detect. I mean, they have cancer detecting dogs and
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
epilepsy dogs and that kind of thing. But one of my dearest friends owns gentle carousel miniature therapy horses. And
Oh.
yeah, and
Horses.
they have the horse, the Magic, the hero horse, right?
Mhm.
And I've been with them when they've gone to hospitals, and Magic, I mean, you can't train an animal if you're going to
Right.
show up and do, just have the animal go in and let people pet them and walk them and that kind of thing. That's therapy all into itself. But you can't teach that animal who's the sickest person in the room because you don't know. But doggone it, if Magic and their other horses that they do the therapy with, they will walk into a room, they'll introduce them, and that mini will make a beeline for whomever the sickest person is in the room.
Wow.
And you often can't, well, mostly you can't tell just by the way they look. And it's
Right.
every time, not sometimes,
Right.
every time.
Right.
And so I am a believer that these soul contracts, which is circling back to what you're talking about, it could have been any soul that popped into Magic, the hero horse, but it was the soul that chose to go into it. And I have a question for you all, which is, do you think that when an animal appears, when it incarnates into Earth as an animal, do you think that it is an animal for eternity?
Yes, I do. I'll go there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say yes. I think they do, because I think they choose the experience, the experience of being an animal. So I think that animal souls are always choosing to, kind of have that animal experience.
And do you think they stay the same animal always, or like?
No, I think they come back as different animals, like let's say we had like a lion and a zebra, maybe they switch places in the next lifetime, but and they just have the different experience of being chased by each other or running away and chasing.
I've definitely had human clients that had animal past lives. And I don't know if it's that they dipped in and decided to be just dip their finger and decide to be a bird one life or something or whatever. But there's certain, I think God allows you to go promote within. God promotes from within. I feel like you can grow your soul into many species. That's my intuition.
I agree with that too. I mean, because I think that also if we look at some animals that come in, like we were talking about before, some are very angelic in their nature and how they're so intelligent, how to assist a human. They've seen like animals saving humans from fires. And, there's a different intellect than other species of animals too. So I think it's yes and no. Like sometimes they might be, constantly, incarnating as animals and they become as a human. So I think there's either a very high intelligence to a lot of these animals that I think that breaks the norms of what a human, the animal brain might be. So
Yeah, and I have to third that. I feel like I grew up with horses, and I feel like I was definitely a horse in a past life. I know. It's like,
Really?
I feel like, yeah, I know the feeling of running. I know the feeling of fresh grass and tasting the oats, and like
Huh.
I have
Weird.
memories of
Interesting.
that. And I used to question it too, Chris Reck, like that, but that doesn't make sense, because how miserable would that be to come back as a different being with that memory there? And that's where they talk about, well, you choose what you block, as far as when you bring in, you forget certain
Right.
sensations, and some come through. And I think a lot of times we miss our lives as animals, or even as trees and things like that. I feel like we can choose to have that experience for whatever reason. Maybe we do want to just have
I
a
agree.
shorter period of time incarnating.
I agree. Or sometimes we want to be closer to a family member that's in the physical life just for part, time being
Right.
too, and so.
I
That's
do
a good
think I've
point.
had a dead relative come back as an animal just to hang out with me. There were times when I would see my grandmother in this dog's eyes. I swear to God, and I was like, "What the?" And I think she's dipping in just to check on me. I swear to God, it was interesting. Bernadette, this brings up like a big 1,000-foot, view perspective. What do you feel the animals play? What is their role on Earth for humans? Because it seems like we put, it's like we put animals in cages and we control them, but it really seems like we're the ones being watched over by them. It's the opposite relationship, but it seems like they're part of God's staff. What's your thinking?
I ask myself that question every single solitary day. No joke. And I wish I had an answer. And it's not like I haven't asked the animal kingdom a bajillion times. I don't have an opinion or an answer on that, because I just don't know. Now, what I can say is this. The system that was downloaded into me separates spirit animals from totem animals from power animals. It's a method that I call it the mama bear method. And it is because those terms are so confusing to people. And most Americans, which is who I teach mostly, they instantly, they hear spirit animal and they're like Native American. And sacred animals and spirit animals are, every culture has them, every culture. And so I'm inclined to believe that we are everything and everything is us. So that thing that you had with the horse and horses, that's because you're part horse.
Yeah.
I have a thing with bears where it's so undeniable. My name translated from French means brave bear. My Enneagram, the you get these 2 branch things that come out, is bear. I can't begin to tell you how many times bear shows up for me. And one night I had a dream. I'm telling you now, I know what it feels like to be a bear. I know what it feels like to be that large and that powerful. And I just have never been able to get over the paws and the claws. They're much larger than you think. And they're much more powerful animals physically than you think. And I have met and been chased by a buffalo, and I'm even more like bear. Holy cow. So I believe that when we're calling on our power animal, what we're doing is we're stepping outside of our human body, because humans are animals, and we step outside to be that skunk or that badger or that phoenix. And that's the other thing I believe, is that mythological and prehistoric creatures can absolutely show up as our spirit animals. We can absolutely call on them as our power animal. And then our totem animal is who we are, beginning with our zodiac signs, because people forget that, a Leo is an actual lion. So why aren't you studying what lion energy is? Why are you only looking at what they say the zodiac sign is all about? Because
Right.
that's
Mhm.
where all that came from.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
you've got a rising sign, and you've got this, and you've got that. Listen, I know jack about astrology, and I mean jack, except for the zodiac signs, because it has to do with personalities and how they fit and how they work and that kind of thing. And so, people ask me how I chose the animals in the arc to represent each tarot card. I didn't. I looked through 70,000 images, no joke, and I waited on each animal to tell me what card it wanted to associate with, because it would represent it in this way. And the characteristics of that animal match the characteristics of that tarot, the archetype, the symbolism, the whatever. And that's how that came to be, because I would no more try to reinterpret the Rider-Waite tarot than the Man in the Moon. I'm not that smart. So
she's a bear.
Yeah.
That was literally going to be my question, was like, there's so much wisdom in this deck, the Oracle deck, and also the tarot one as well. I was going to ask you if, there's 3 words on each card, which I thought was interesting. And the first thing that popped into my head when I first picked this up is like, one of these is like the totem meaning, one of these is more channeled, and like one of these is maybe, the real world 3D meaning. So how close am I with this deck?
You're very well, you're on the money. And what that means is, the words I really took from the 3D here is the first two words are supposed to be what that card symbolizes upright, and then the next word is what it would symbolize if it were inverted. But I didn't really lay that out, because I wanted people to kind of see that, hey, there's some positive stuff here, but it could mean this.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but the 3 part of it, the spirit, totem, and power, those words are interchangeable. They really are. And that's, I have tried to discover this, but in the classes that I've taught, because I'm not a tarot teacher, like I'm not going to teach just a class on, not just a class, but a class on just tarot. Like there are many more experts out there than I. Now, you want intuitive tarot, I'm your girl, because the intuition. But when we layer the animals with it, I have never, ever gotten so many emails, private messages, phone calls of people that are like, I've been reading for 20 years. I got your deck and my accuracy went nuts. My sensitivity went nuts. Why is that? I want to answer them. I want to give them some wise. I got nothing. I don't know why it is. The only thing I can say is that people do feel safer and more comfortable with animals, and maybe it's easier for them to put the story together with the animal pictures there, because they are pictured. There's one card in all 149. That's not true. There are 2 cards in all 149 cards that are not of real animals. One of them you would know, it's the imagination card.
Right.
And the other one you would not know, and I'm not telling.
Okay.
That's not fair.
I'll tell
We
you
are
guys
psychic
after
for
the
that.
show. I'll tell you after the show.
Deal. Okay, good.
I think it's this one. Although that is a real animal, the T-Rex. So
Yes, but
just not real anymore, right?
Well, right. Okay, you bring up a good point. Well, now see, you say that, but is a centaur real? I believe it is, because thoughts are things.
Right.
And with so many people reading about centaurs, dreaming, writing about them, blah, 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 somewhere out there in Never Never Land lives real centaurs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
just like
and unicorns.
Yeah.
Unicorns,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Well, I've heard like there's a parallel dimension. It's like another dimension. Like I heard a story. I don't know if it was you that told me this, Bernadette. That mermaids do exist, half animal, half human, in another dimension. They started here on Earth, but then they end up vibrating to a different dimension. So I feel like some of these animals are not imaginary, but we've chosen not to live with them. I don't know. What are your feelings?
I did not tell you that, but listen, when you guys that do readings, the kookiest stuff happens that even though you teach and you believe and you read every day, still leaves you going, and that's why I do this job, is so that I can really see the magic and all that. So if this can be true, why can't that be true? That's a scientific principle.
Yep.
And if you jiggle this cell over here and this one reacts to it a world away, why can't all of these other things be true? So I just count them as true, and I go with what spirit tells me. I mean, yesterday I gave her, every month I have a no person. No. They say no to everything. And it took us a little bit yesterday because I told her that, your sister is here and she's thanking you for a secret that you kept. And she just, you were really good. And she goes, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
You're still keeping it. Still keeping the secret.
And now we got to what the secret is, but she wasn't thinking of it as such. And once it hit her like a ton of bricks.
Oh yeah.
Because that secret that she kept, had she not kept it, in her mind, could have saved her sister's life. Now it might not have, but it happened. It is what it is. And from the other side, her sister is saying, thank you very much. It was the right thing to do. Now, we didn't know why it was, but you guys know you have to do the drill down with people sometimes. And you just really have to stick to your guns sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the lady with the white swan. I have no connection to white swans. Yeah, you do. No, I don't. Yeah, you do. Okay. And then we got there, and it really, truly changed her life like that.
That's
so
true.
Yeah, she contacted me a month later, and I wasn't looking at the same person energetically.
Wow.
She'd done a 180. I was like, holy guacamole, good for you. So yeah, you guys know what you do can be life-changing. You know that.
It is. Yeah, no, it is. It's humbling actually too, because you open up this vast knowledge. You're like, I'm just a little peon in this magnificence of intelligence. And so I actually like feeling that. There's so much more, to dive into. Yeah, it's amazing.
You bring up a good point too, Bernadette, about this is why I do this, like as a light worker, because I remember when I was first being encouraged to start talking about my work with the angels, I had to walk myself through this narrative. I mean, it was something that had happened when I was 19, but here, like 16 years later, I'm being told I need to tell people about it. And the thought that came through my head was, well, nobody can prove I didn't see the angels. So it's like, if it can be that there are no such thing as these other spiritual beings, but there also could be, that's when you're stepping into your power, right? Is what you're saying, and saying, oh, this is why I do this work, because I get to see it firsthand.
It's not why I do the work, but it is a good part of why I love the work. I got into this work because, and just very shortly, my mom was killed, and we weren't a spiritual family. We didn't go to church. We just hung out. Right. And I just was not willing to believe she was just gone. I just wasn't willing to believe that. And I wasn't willing to believe, there's only 144,000 people and the whole, all that kind of stuff. I just wasn't willing. So I went on a quest to find my mom. That's honestly how it happened.
Wow.
And when a friend of mine suggested I go to a psychic medium, and I'm like, you don't believe in that stuff, do you? Like, why, yes, I do. And I'm like, okay. And I almost fell out of my chair at the things this woman told me that she absolutely, positively could not have possibly known, period.
Right.
So it knocked me back a few good pegs. And I woke up and decided that I now knew what it was like when preachers and priests and holy people decide they've got a calling.
Yeah.
And I had a calling to do this work. Fortunately for me, my friends already knew I was kooky, and my family's so small, the only person I ran it by was my sister, who went, "You'll never be able to make a living at that." She didn't care what the subject was. She cared if I could make a living at it. So I just went on about my merry business and developed my business, because I have a business background, and I just married the two, and here we are today. And I still feel like I have that calling, because I know you guys, I'm guessing at some point, one of you at least has gone, I got to find something else to do. You know, you're just like, I can't do this anymore. And then you rally and you get back into it, and, you find a new way to invigorate yourself and, get with programs. So that's how it works for me. It just really is a joy. And it's, listen, it's fun to have those things happen where you're like, holy shit, did you?
Oh yeah.
You
You never get tired of the
Did you hear
affirmations.
that?
Yeah. Never get tired of it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about personal guides. I really feel like owls guide me. How is it that if you identify without a doubt, an animal that keeps showing up and it's your spirit guide, how does one work with officially their animal guide? Is it like an angel that you're praying to? Are you summoning like a hawk on your finger? Like, how do you use that awareness to your benefit?
Well, I'm a big fan of just asking them to do what you need. So for instance, those of you with the birds, if I need to see the bigger picture of something, I ask them to fly to what I need to see. And I have seen some super, super kooky stuff and gone, oh, that makes total sense. Why didn't I see that the first time? Duh.
Right.
I had, now let me just say, and not to be a downer, but I would caution, and I mean caution, the people that would want to work with their animal in a dark capacity. And sometimes it will come upon you and you'll not know that. Let me give you, for instance, I have a dear friend who is the most amazing Egyptian astrologer, meaning she does Egyptian astrology. She's amazing. And she read my thing the other day, and I'm a double magia, blah, 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 which means double cobra. And I was like, snakes. Why does it always have to be snakes? Because as you guys know, for Scorpio, it's, snake. What is the next one? And then
Eagle.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So there's 3 iterations. And I've never had eagles haunt me until lately, but I've always had snakes just haunt me, awake and not awake. So she told me double cobra, and we talked about the what is it? The medical
Caduceus.
symbol. Thank you. And a couple days later, one of my sisters happened to get completely hosed in a contract, and I really truly am Mama Bear. My first thing was to just be infuriated, and that's never good. So I did try to calm myself down, but then all of a sudden I could feel myself turn into these 2 cobras, and I went to that person's house and I saw them, like I literally saw them, and I had to go, whoa, 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 whoa. I'd never had anything dark like that happen, because, the cobras weren't there for high tea. That's not what they were there for. And the cobras are me. So I was like, oh, no, 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 no. And I learned a valuable bunch of lessons. And because I never do the dark side stuff, right? When people ask me, would I do this for them? No. I will joke about sending a swarm of black flies, but I don't. And I would encourage people not to ask their spirit animal or work with their power animal or even with their totem to do any of the dark work, because they are not prepared for what that can unleash. They think they are, but if you've never seen a bear on a true hunt, if you've never seen that sweet looking 14-foot tall moose go after somebody's car and take its horns and flip a car, or a rhino, come on now, you're not prepared for that. It'll scare the Pewallowit jazzies out of you. Plus, it's such bad karma. So again, not to be a downer, but I just always think it's important to address that. So I just always, whatever strength, whatever ability that animal has, I work with those abilities and their symbolism. So like owls can fly silently because of the way that their feathers are, and they're the only ones that can do that. And their navigational skills are truly remarkable. So let's say that you need to get quiet, but you need to see, and you need to get from point A to point Z, or you need some courage looking into the shadows. You just ask Owl to help you do that without judgment, because that's what animals do. They will assess, but they will not judge.
It's almost clinical. It's like this clinical kind of look. You know, this begs the question: how does one discover with confidence what their spirit animal is?
Oh Lord,
2-hour documentary. Go.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, the most common thing that people think is meditation, and that's great and everything, but is it an intentional meditation? Why are you doing the meditation? What's the intention that you set? What are the specific words that you use? But sometimes that animal will just, like if it's a spirit animal, like your spirit, unbeknownst to you, has cried out for signs from the animal universe, and that animal just keeps showing up, and you're like, what? Because I had a personal experience with a unicorn. I'm like, listen, okay, I don't need a unicorn at this time in my life. I need something substantial. Why would I say that to the spirit animal world? What was I thinking? And the more that I denied unicorn popping up in the craziest places, the more it came. And so finally I was like, okay. And I sat with it. And 2 days later, I turned around and I looked at a sign that was for a community called Forest of the Unicorn. And I started shaking so badly I had to pull my car over, because I was like, okay. And then everything after that flowed the way it was supposed to, and in my favor in a way you could not possibly believe. And so it can show up that way. You can be walking in the woods and see an animal and just know. Your dog can show up as your grandma. Your, you know, all the things. You could start seeing
Grandma
things on television. Yeah, grandma vision. So it happens so many ways, but I really want to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just really want to drive home that meditation is not the number one way to do that. It is a way.
Thank you.
But it is not the number one way. People get so tripped up with meditation.
I agree. I always say, with you, I say like intentional meditation. I always say, like, if you're going to do meditation, intentional. Otherwise, just kind of mumble jumble. You clear your mind for a second, then you're back to normal reality. You should be able to associate and communicate in your walking life, because they're spirit, right? But I have a question too, because I've had, like, similar to Christopher, like the owl since I was a kid has always been whoo, and I always feel like I was always getting, you know, knowledge and information from that. But my question is about, I've had an influx of like rotation of insects. So I had a period where I had nothing but wasps always clinging to me in my home, and just like I felt like I was a wasp whisperer for a while, and it became a joke. And then I always get praying mantises always like clawing at my, you know, back doors, looking in and peeking in, right? And they're always like observing, and so I always found that to be weird too. But lately, the past week and a half, I've been having ladybugs like crazy in my home. So what do you think about insects? Like, I would move one ladybug, try to put it outside, and it crawls on my finger, doesn't want to leave. So then I put it inside. Then more kept coming in. So what do you think about insects too, as far as, you know, I know they're not an animal per se, but do you think also insects could also be I believe they're messengers and, you know, I would say reflections, but what's your view on, you know, kind of the communication with insects?
Well, I think it takes a highly, highly, highly sensitive person to communicate with insects. I have not found them to be the most forward thinkers
Mm.
of this earth.
Mm.
It's just like snakes. I don't believe there's really empathy of any kind in a snake.
Mhm.
I don't think I think a lot of things about snakes, but
Clearly.
Yeah, she
I
loves
think-
snakes.
and I love insects because they are so individual. And I heard you earlier when I was backstage talking about the beetle, and my mind went whammo to a scarab, and all I could see were the pyramids and that kind of thing. So I wonder, have you in your life ever had a fascination with Egypt, or feel like you spent an Egyptian lifetime? Because beetles, roaches. I live in Florida, so
It's
roaches.
funny. It's
I'll
funny.
never-
It's funny you said that, because I actually had a past life regression where actually someone did it for me, where I was sacrificed as an Egyptian baby. And they said by being a sacrifice as an Egyptian baby, I was harnessed this, unique power. So that was part of the past life, which is why I decided to get it tattooed, the scarab beetle, because of, they were attacking me like crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know. And isn't it funny that I say that? So that's what I would tell you that the scarab is trying to do, is get you to connect more with that past life. However long you were in it, you were in the vehicle of your mom for 7, 8, 9 months. You will have absorbed lots of things via her and the Ethernet cable, the umbilical cord, that and then being sacrificed is that.
Interesting, because they've been in my pool like this big the past even week. I've been getting, they're like this big in my pool, and I'm like, why are they just like dead in the pool? And I just keep trying to fit, and they're huge too. So maybe I think the thing of being the womb and something with the pool and the water. I don't know. Maybe it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
It is so interesting that
Just
I
to
say
validate you a little bit.
going into the mom, but
Yeah.
and I would do that, when you're ready. Now, if I may, I believe that the other two insects are delivering you a specific message. May I deliver you that message based on what they're telling me? Is that okay?
Oh, if you're so kind. Yeah, I wasn't trying to fish, but yeah, that'd be very kind of you.
No. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other reason to communicate with them other than to get their information. So
Yeah.
I don't know you. This is the first time we've met. And I just want you guys to know I didn't look up anybody online. I don't do that with my clients. I go into everything cold.
Right, me too.
And I am being told by wasp and praying mantis that you have a yearning, a calling to expand your business, expand your business. And you're looking for ways to create your own bigger empire online. True or not true?
True.
Okay. Now that could be said of any business person. It certainly could be said of anybody that's, working.
But for me, that's like different, because I've always kind of not had to focus on that online. So it's like the online thing has been getting out of my comfort zone,
Okay.
And so, yeah.
But there is a difference between, yes, that could be applicable to everybody, and somebody that has in their mind the kind of money and the kind of notoriety, the kind of all the things, right?
Right.
That's different. And you've got the bug so big. And wasp is telling you, both wasp and praying mantis are saying, the wasp is telling you it's time to build your colony. But I feel like you've got to have a second, somebody that's by you that can put a bit of a space between you and the public, because you are so nice, they will herd right over you. No, whoever's watching this, I'm not denigrating the public. I love every one of you. But as someone, all of us that have, I mean, if you've got 50 followers, they want your time right now, every day, all day. And especially when you do readings online, right? Like I know you with Minopon, I know that you
Mhm.
get probably all of you get thousands of emails a month, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's what WASP is teaching you is you've got to have a colony.
I want to validate you too, because right when that was happening in my life, I'd been resisting going on YouTube because I just I had television exposure. I was like lazy relying on that. I'm like, I don't want to do the social media. I was resisting it. And my business was getting worse until I said, all right, let me do this Instagram, YouTube stuff. And then all the wasps started just dying in my house, like a line of them laying before in my house. And then I met Christopher and I met other people with other podcasts. And so when you said about having someone come in and helping, I feel like Chris has, expanded my spiritual family in that sense with the online space. So it was around that timing. So I just want to validate you on that.
Okay,
That's
thank
great.
you. And praying mantis is, listen, that is such a famous symbol for just stay still until you know it's time to leap. But
Right.
I feel like it is time for you to leap, and it is time for you to start to learn the things that you don't know, and some of the things that you don't know, you just don't know that you don't know,
Right.
because you haven't pursued XYZ to build, ABC.
Yep.
But that time is coming, and the thing is it's time for you to flip the script. And
Right.
instead of thinking of YouTube as social media, ask yourself a deep question. Why do you do what you do? And
Exactly
if
right.
you can reach more people, then why would you not do that, as long as you're doing it in a way that doesn't burn you out, that
Right.
doesn't put you in harm's way, that doesn't, but
Mhm.
does all of these things.
Deb and I
And
were talking about that before too. We were talking about like burnout, and so yeah, right, Devon.
Yeah, we were. In fact, I was curious if we have a little time here, Bernadette, to get your thoughts on the Fox family that lives behind my back fence. Because growing up in this area, I moved away and came back. I never saw foxes, but when I moved back in 2020, I started seeing them cross my path. Then I started seeing them show up in my backyard. And then I just recently had a fox show up and stare at my family and I while we were hanging out in the pool. Which caused me to check out with my neighbor what was going on, if they knew where they were. And she said, "Oh yeah, I've got pictures. It's a mom, a dad, and 3 pups." And they were all living back there. And I've got 3 kids. My 2 daughters are from my late husband who passed away, and then I remarried, and he has a son. So I'm getting there's a feeling around family there, but also when I tried to take pictures of the fox that was staring at us, the face kind of morphed into like bobcat energy too. And I did feel kind of fear a little bit, and it's just like boundaries kind of a thing. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts with fox families and things like that?
well, foxes are definitely shapeshifters. And lots of people think of them as tricksters, but I don't think of them that way. I think of them as having great senses of humor. And they are canine related.
Right.
And it is, they're not so very far removed from having a dog if
Right.
you
Yeah.
raise them in that manner. Now, having that family move in, that's a big honor, because mommy must feel very safe there.
Yeah.
And the question is can you protect them in a
Right.
way that doesn't get them dependent on you or feel like they're part of the family, or you're gonna find them on your porch, and then they're gonna be at your door. And while that's not terrible for me, I wouldn't do it just because it's not good for the animal, but it you just got to be really careful. They're still wild animals.
Yeah,
So-
oh, absolutely. I mean, I kept my distance. I was just trying to take pictures, but it was almost like it wanted to communicate with us.
Mhm.
I mean, I even just seeing it in the middle of the morning was weird because they're mostly nocturnal, I believe.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so it was just such an interesting, powerful thing. And we already knew we were interviewing you. This was just this past weekend. So I was like, I
Oh,
feel like I
wow.
was supposed to ask Bernadette about this. So
They're like, shout out to Bernadette.
Well,
yeah, we said hi to you too.
yo, so I just have a really quick question. It seems to, if I may,
Sure.
I just kept seeing Phoenix Every time I
Ooh.
look at you, I see Phoenix.
Mm.
And
River Phoenix? No.
Arizona.
um, his mother and his whole family live in Gainesville, right around the corner from me. Just,
Oh, that's
Oh
funny.
wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool. They're very lovely people. But I if may I ask you a personal question? It's not so
Yes,
very
please.
deep. Okay. You to the eye, to the regular eye, you look like you grew up in a nice family with no trauma and no this and no that, but I don't think that's true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I could see that. A lot of the work that I've had to do to get to point where I am is kind of like deconditioning and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. And so I just feel like throughout your life, you've had to choose to be the Phoenix.
Ooh.
You've burst into flames and gone, okay,
Mm.
time to rise again. Does that make
Wow.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't mean little things like some mean girl in high school hurt your feelings. I'm talking about like significant stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, she has.
You have Phoenix working with you,
Wow.
but now you've got Fox working with you because I don't think that you recognize what a caretaker you are for how many.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
I don't think you realize that. And so like people call me Mama Bear, but you're the angel of the morning. And
Wow.
you work with angels, but I don't know that you recognize yourself
Mhm.
as an angel. I don't know that. And the time has come for you to understand how many people you are literally a miracle. Is I just keep hearing miracle, miracle, miracle. She's a miracle. She doesn't
Okay, here comes the
understand.
tissues.
Well, but it's true, and you perform miracles every day
Mhm.
because people that get messages from you, to you, they may just be messages, but to them, it may be bringing them back from the brink. And I mean
Mm.
the brink.
Mhm.
And your time for expansion has already happened, but I think you're having a hard time. I just think you're carrying a really big load right now. Does that make sense?
It does, and a lot of the worry is I want to make sure I am there for my family. So
Mm.
that's very validating. I want to be able to do the work I came here to do, but also not ignore my family. So that's super validating, Bernadette. We gotta tell everybody how people can find you and get readings with you and get your
That's
deck
sweet.
because you are just amazing. I'm so
I
honored
don't
for
know.
that validation.
She
I don't
is. She
know.
really is. I've had a reading. She's amazing.
Well, I don't know, but thank you. That is very kind.
And
But
brutally honest. You were brutally honest. Like, Scorpio, she'll be
brutal.
like,
Scorpio.
you asked first. You're like, can I be brutally honest? I was like,
We need
sure.
that
And then
sometimes.
it was. No, it was
Mm.
the truth. It was amazing. No, it helped me. I'm not complaining.
Did it?
Um,
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, totally. No. And you asked permission. When people ask, can I be honest? It's usually very vague. It wasn't with you. It was like, oh shit, she knows. Like there was no hiding from Mama Bear. So I wouldn't build a dam as a beaver and went down. But first and foremost, I feel where can people find your Arc Animal and Oracle deck? I have the book here, and Chris has it as well.
Yes.
Aw.
That seems like a good way to get started because I find the deck is
Yes.
beautiful. I
Aw.
pulled cards on given days, and I'm an astrologer, and I swear to Goddess,
Go
the
on, Chris.
card I pull is always perfect with
Nice.
the
Very
energy of
nice.
the planets.
You guys are so kind. The best place to do that is whatismyspiritanimal.com.
Okay,
But
right
I'm
off your website.
I'm pretty trackable online. You can find me on
Mhm.
Facebook. You can find me on YouTube. I do have another site, Building Beautiful Souls, that talks about all things metaphysical. Whereas What Is My Spirit Animal is just about animals and animal spirit guides and all that kind of thing. It's super specific. But either place, you can find that. I'm not so much into Insta, and I don't tweet, and I'm not
Right.
a tweeter. And so that's where I'm at.
Okay, awesome. I think it's a great and you are offering something as well. You have a course coming up. Is that true?
I
In the fall?
do. I am finally giving in, and I'm creating a course that will certify people in working with the arc. And the course is really different because it includes, we'll work on intuitive tarot. We'll work on connecting more deeply with the animal kingdom and nature and recognizing the messages and understanding them. And you had mentioned Ladybug earlier, and I wanted to tell you that has been a theme in this mentorship that I'm doing. And the theme for us and in my readings for Ladybug has always been connect the dots. Yes, they mean good fortune, but really what it means is connect the dots.
The dots.
Nice.
Wow.
So within the ARC certification, I'm also going to spend a third of the time on teaching people how to build their business online. And then those that get truly certified, that go the distance, they will be allowed to have a listing on what is my spirit animal for their readings and their healings and that kind of thing. And that will be it will cost them money to list there, but it will be by invitation only, because I only want the
Best of the best.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And she's offering $100 off her ARC certification course, everyone. And
Wow.
I want to point out, I find that her work and her cards are a good second modality, to pull in something else besides astrology, to pull in an animal. I just think for practitioners out there, you might consider it as a second modality. It sort of really helps you back up what you just did in a whole nother system that doesn't trigger the client. So you're a real companion to everyone here, I think, Bernadette.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm very grateful for the work I do. I'm just so honored to be part of this panel today. You guys are the shiz. And
Tell us, Mama. Tell us.
We're honored you're here. Thank
and
you
the
so much.
I mean, just the value, just the soulfulness that you're offering everyone through these shows is, man, thank you for investing the time, because I just wow.
Well, thank you.
That's all
Thank
I
you.
have to say.
We're all in great company. We're all going to have to hang out in the animal park someday. Go talk to the animals and film it. It'll be fun.
It
Yeah,
would be
that would be
fun.
fun. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be good. That's a good camera moment. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Check out her whatismyspiritanimal.com. Try the ARC certification course. Bernadette would love to circle back with you sometime in the future and talk animals again.
Sure. Anytime.
And we're so grateful for everyone who is watching. We'll be back live next week. This is our 1 week where we have a pre-tape show. We love you. We're grateful for you. And remember, folks, don't put up with a shift show. Lead out loud. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.